Hello everyone, Raven of the Retro Dev here, and in this tutorial, as the title suggests, we are going to set up FS-UAE, which is an Amiga emulator, and we are going to effectively set it up for, well, you can play Amiga games with it, you could play, I mean, basically anything really. You can develop Amiga software, I mean, basically whatever you want to do with it, really. In our case, we're going to set it up for future use for um, developing and playing games on it. Now, the nice thing, and I'll put this out really quick, is FS-UAE actually allows you to just like effectively play Amiga games without having to install like Workbench and all. But if you actually want to install Workbench and all that, which is what we're going to be doing, you're going to need uh, Amiga. Or sorry, you're going to need the Kickstart ROMs and the Workbench. I believe you need the Kickstart ROMs anyway with FS-UAE. So go ahead and click all there's three links in the description. Go ahead and open them up and grab FS-UAE and the launcher. You're going to need the launcher, which looks like this. And then if you have the Kickstart and the Workbench floppy, or you can extract it from your Amiga, you can use that, or you can get it from Amiga Forever, and I'm sure there's many other ways to get it. And then the other thing is there's the Better Workbench, which this basically adds a bunch of really useful extra features, like look, new types of like GIF, JPEGs, PNGs, bitmaps, all sorts of really cool stuff. So we can have like, some new, really nice, really cool little backgrounds. Um, or well, I mean, you could use it for a bunch of other stuff. It truly does have a lot of stuff. Although I don't know, you may need like some of the extension cards to like fully possibly take advantage of this. Um, so I'm not really sure. I don't have as much experience with that. But once you have all that, extract it all into folders. Make it all nice and neatly organized. Mine looks sort of like this. And as you can see, I have everything in here that I need. And also, this is another emulator that I've been messing around with, but only works on Windows. And then this is the hard drive we're going to be using, the folder. And we're going to talk about that really quick. So when you first launch UAE, down here at the bottom, you probably have a warning about the ROMs and stuff. You can import the kickstarts and stuff. You can go up here, top left, click it. You can import the kickstarts and the Amiga Forever. I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it again. But you can just navigate to the folder, you hit OK, and then it'll auto import everything. It's relatively straightforward. Okay, the next thing, the model. Amiga 4000, and it should change over to the 3.1 ROM. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is a floppy drive. We want 4 floppy drives because special. And we're amazing. So we want 4. Mostly it just makes life easier. Next thing you want to do is select the little plus sign there and just grab all of your Workbench files. I'm going to open them up. Awesome. And one downside to Amiga UAE, or the emulator we're using, is that if you want to load a floppy, you have to close the emulator and then reopen it. It's kind of annoying because you have to add it into the media swap list. You could manually add it here, but there's 6 floppies and there's only 4 drives. So you add it to the media swap list, and then you can just pick and choose. I mean, if you really wanted to, I guess you could just leave everything mounted and then just hit the down arrow key until you get to it. Next, CD-ROM drive, we don't want one. Hard drive, this is where it gets interesting. So over here, you see we have ADF creator and HDF creator. ADF is Amiga's floppy format. HDF, which if you really wanted to, you could make a floppy, which may or may not be useful depending on what you're doing. But so there are really 2 ways to set this up. One really easy way is to just use the single partition hard disk, create it with whatever size you want it to be, and then just tell this to load the file, and then you format it, and then you install everything to it, and that's wonderful. And there's 2 different versions here. There's the single partition, which is just a 1 partition raw image file. The other one is a partitional hard drive, which basically takes up however much space you tell it to. But you could say have maybe 2 or 3 hard drives here, but it's all inside of one file. Now that's wonderful if you're trying to be like very pure to the Amiga, I guess, way, um, which is fine. But one nice thing about emulators is you can use them on any machine. Well, one thing you can do is instead of creating like this drive and being limited to say 256 megabytes or 512 megabytes, you could just go over here, click this folder, and then I already have a drive here created titled YTHD1, which stands for YouTube Hard Drive 1, and then select the folder. And now it'll see that Active Directory as basically a hard drive. And it'll always say 50% full or something like that, but that doesn't matter because the total amount of space is literally limited only to um, whatever source you're actually putting it on. So like if you have a 1 terabyte drive or a 2 terabyte drive or a 4 terabyte drive, you could theoretically put 4 terabytes of Amiga stuff in there. I have no idea how you would do that, but you have the option to do that. It's also kind of easy to get files to and from the Amiga, which is why I recommend this method. Next thing, you don't have to worry about the Kickstart ROM or the extended. The default's fine. So for chip RAM, we're going to set it to 8 megabytes. And then for the Zorro III Fast Memory, we're going to set to 512. You can set this to whatever you like, but for us, 512. Next is the input options, which is like your joystick, your parallel ports, all that sort of stuff. We don't really need, or we're not going to use that, so we're just going to move on. We're also not going to use any of these expansion boards, but if you happen to have the ROMs for them, you're welcome to play around with using them. Some of them like this lovely graphics card down here, it adds quite a lot of extra features, and I believe this does too. I believe this is just part of UAE's thing. I'm not really sure what this is though. I think it's some kind of built-in emulated graphics driver, but we're just gonna leave this all at none. I don't have enough experience to know specifically what that is, so I'm just gonna. So the next thing is CPU, and then I want to select the 608040 because that's the CPU we're going to be using, which is the default CPU for the 4000. And then for floppy drive speed, turbo, please. Please, turbo. You can also set it to 800%. I'm actually not sure what's faster. I think turbo is faster, but not. Okay, so now that we've done this, we're going to go back to our floppy here because we're going to be using this. And we just want to select Amiga 4000 down here because this is going to be the name of our configuration. Then you just save it, and you can hit start. Then it's going to launch, and then you can hit F12. And then you just want to go down here, and you want to select the install, and then hit F12 again, and then you want to mount Workbench, and then you want to hold Alt-T to reboot the Amiga, and I'm just going to full screen this. Here we go. Should load here in just a second. Okay, perfect. Okay, so here's our hard drive. Now, if you use the raw image method, this won't really say anything. So before you go anywhere, because it did load Workbench, you want to open this up. And as you can see, it doesn't have anything here except it's all empty. And what you want to do right in here is you want to partition. When you double click it, you want to partition the drive and select fast file system or fast file partition. And then you just want to hit quick format. And then it'll be ready to go. But we don't have to do that because we're just using a directory. In fact, you definitely don't want to try any kind of format on your NTFS or your BTFS or your ext4 volume. No. You don't want to do that. And then, of course, we just want to run install. Double click install. Select our language. I do like the fact that you can just mount Workbench. Okay. Without installing it. Okay, so we just want to proceed here and then install release and then select intermediate user because we do want a lot of automatic, but we want a little bit of manual in certain spots. Okay, so proceed with install and then just proceed. Yes, English, pick your language. We don't have a printer. American English, but whichever course here, depending on where you are. And then proceed. And then check the drive for obsolete files. Now, if you get a weird error here where it's like, you want to like move the files, so to speak, That means you put the Workbench in disk 0, drive 0. You don't want to do that. You want to just swap them and then just reboot. And this will take, well, as long as it'll take. So I just want to say, I really like Amiga, but I'm not the most experienced with Amiga, but I have been learning Amiga here recently, and I really like it. And I have a couple of different Amiga machines, which I've only really used to play games. But here recently I've been learning how to develop, so there should be some really nice tutorials to come, because the Amiga is actually quite joyful to work with. Okay, so we just want to select local, and then we'll just go. But there's really not very many tutorials out there on how to set this thing up that I could find anyway. And we need the extras. Let's grab that really quick. So I decided to make this video just to, you know, cover on how to do it really quick. And wow, this thing's going, ain't it? I think it copies faster to this than it does to the raw image. And we'll take a look at it once it's done. You know, everything's all nice and done installing. Okay, now we just need to add the fonts, so we'll just remove the extras and add the fonts. Wait a second while it, you know, goes kind of crazy. All right. This does take a little while, although to be fair, it is extremely slow on an actual Amiga. It does take quite a while on an actual Amiga. It took quite a while. I have an Amiga 3000 and a 1000. Storage. I think this is the last one. Cool. I'm also pretty surprised by how customizable the Amiga is as well. Like the desktop environment is quite customizable. Okay, so now we need to reboot. So the only thing we need to do now is just eject everything. Definitely do this, because we do not want any of this stuff open. Okay, and then we'll just hit proceed, and then it will reboot. Because if you leave the install, well, I guess you could leave the install disk in, but like if you leave Workbench in, it'll load it off the floppy. Okay, so there we go. So now we have our Amiga system. Everything's there. It still says 50% full, but it's totally fine. And we can create a RAM disk, all sorts of really cool stuff. You can see we have quite a lot of memory available to us, which is just it's incredible how little memory it uses. It's incredible. Okay, so now we'll just hit F12, and then we'll just go up to here and hit the X, and it'll close out, and it'll pop back. And then if we were to actually open this up, you can now see here's all the files, and now we can navigate pretty much anything. We can make folders and all sorts of stuff. Definitely don't edit this while it's running, because I'm not really sure how it would really like that, but at least you can easily pull data to and from. So now we want to update it to the better Workbench. So we just want to click this little broom over here, clear out the list, and then we want to go to wherever you added the better Workbench. And also don't forget the update. There was an update on that window there. The 40 to 43, you can go back and grab it really quick. It's very small. We're just gonna grab this here, hit open, and then we're gonna save it, launch it, and then I'm gonna put it back into full screen. And for our ever so lovely first floppy with better Workbench, it's the MISC floppy, and we just want to open it. There it is. Install better Workbench, and then it'll take a second. And now what it's going to do is same thing as before, except it's fully automated. It's just going to copy files to and from, and all we really have to do is just kind of chill out and wait a little bit for this thing to go through. Okay, now it wants tools. floppy 1, so we'll just grab that. Wait a second. As we ever slowly wait. You can probably skip ahead at this point in the video if you really wanted to. I wouldn't necessarily blame you. I mean, there's not too much. I mean, this is fairly straightforward. It's going to ask for the floppy. You're going to give it the floppy. But then we will reboot, and then we will actually put in the other floppy. So, all right, now it wants the bonus here. So we'll just throw that in. Yeah, and then we'll reboot, and then we'll install the real quick update, which is only 1 floppy. And then we'll be fully updated to the better Workbench. Look forward to having a nice little background here. You know, as soon as we get this done, of course. Come on. Do it. I believe in you, you little floppy drive. You can copy. Okay, now we need the docs. We're getting there. It's 6 floppies and then of course the +1 for the update. Okay, now we want the icons here. We'll just do it right from there. Icons. It'll take a second longer because it has to remove. Also, for those of you that don't like the floppy noises or want the floppy noises, you can turn that off in the settings. You can checkbox. You can turn it off. I think it's under this. Yeah, and this right here, I believe, is last one for this. Fairly certain, or it's near the last one. Maybe there was only 5. I can't remember. It's fine though. We'll know in a second because it'll roll through fairly quickly. Okay, here we go. All right. Oh yeah, drivers is the last one. That's right. Of course. Yeah, there is. But I don't really recall the drivers one being very big though. Not like the last one with all the icons. Here we go. Okay, now we're doing it. All right. There we go. It's just doing some last minute cleanups there. Okay. And for the environment handler, no, we'll just do no. Okay. And then we'll just remove these floppies because, again, we do not want these floppies installed at all. For this one, though, we're actually going to change it to the update. And then we'll just do an Alt-T in order to restart. Oh, sorry. No, we actually don't want to do that. We want to eject that and then Alt-T. Yeah, no, we don't want that because, yeah, it tried to load that thing. Probably could have put it in like 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 instead of that, but we'll just hit F12 really quick and then we'll just pop it in really fast. And there it is. And we'll just update. And this will only take like a second. This one is not very long at all in the slightest. Okay, and then we'll just eject this. And then we will just do an Alt-T again to reboot. Just to double check, make sure everything's good. And everything's good. Okay, cool. So there you have it. You have successfully installed Amiga Workbench and Better Workbench, and you have an Amiga 4000 all set up. Now you can play games, you can develop software, go to BBSs, all that really fun stuff that, people, in my opinion, kind of took for granted in the early 90s, and then the late 90s happened, and considering what we have now. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Anyhow, I will see you all in the next one. Not sure what the next video will be, but we'll have something. So if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you like and want to support this channel and want to support us, you can check out Locals and become a member there. Get the videos a day in advance. See you guys in the next one.